In my case specifically, that is what it has always felt like to be an island.
Sarah Bareilles sang, "You must become an island." And frankly, I agree with this creator. I've always felt like one. So please go back and watch that full video as we discuss the experience of understanding that your experience is yours alone and how isolating that can be when you sit at the intersection of a lot of identities. Anna Lee is one of my favorite creators on this app, period, end of story, and she shares a lot of insights not only on her experience as a professional performing artist and dancer, but also her experience as someone that is autistic and ADHD, among a myriad of other things. And I love the analogy that she used in this video that I stitched about loneliness feeling like an island, about feeling like you are on this island and perhaps maybe unreachable or reachable by some. I am not sure exactly, again, how she experiences that. But that made me think of a metaphor that popped into my brain last year that I've written a poem and I will turn it into a song. And I want to elaborate more on that because I liken my experience as someone that is a mixed race, Irish American, Jewish, queer, autistic person that has lost both of their parents, that was raised as a little East Coast brat, etc., etc. I liken my experience to a ravine. And I feel like I'm back in the trees of my own world, of my magical, mystical, enchanted forest. And then there's this huge, mighty ravine. And on the other side of the ravine is the rest of the world. That's all the neurotypical people, excuse this motorcycle, and that's everyone else. And I can see them all. They're in bright colored clothes. They're having a great time. Not as many trees blocking the view on their side of the ravine. But the further back you go into the wood, the less you can actually see the canyon and chasm, and the more you just sort of see through the trees all of these people off in the distance. And they, mind you, also can't see the forest for the trees. They don't understand your experience at all or what you see. And every so often, when you've been in that wood of your own mind or in your own world for too long, for me, my experience is I kind of forget that the ravine is there. And I see the people and I so yearn for that connection that I run towards friends. I run towards society, towards connection, only to be suddenly stopped short by this ravine. By this ravine that is my personality disorder, that is my autism. And there's no way to cross that. There's no way to ever cross that. That doesn't mean that if I don't make the effort, I won't come to the very edge and be able to wave maybe and shout and maybe they'll hear me, though they might not understand everything that I say. Doesn't mean they can't still communicate with me, but it's often more comfortable for me to go back in the wood until again I forget and yearn for that connection so much that I run again before I realize that it's there. And the analogy of being an island I also like, and I'm going to elaborate because, again, an island is its own standalone environment. And perhaps you're unreachable, or perhaps you are reachable, but you're only going to be reachable to a few, and they're not from there, so they still are going to be approaching you from a different experience. Anna Lee talks a lot more in that video about a myriad of other offshoots of connection and how we are all so, so different. And I urge you to please watch the entire thing because I think it's so true. And it applies not only to those of us that are neurodivergent, but also to everyone, because every single human being is going to have a different experience. And most of the time, we all know that we've been through quite a lot. We're not going to be talking about upfront and talking about the really difficult stuff. And a lot of the time, people couldn't understand it anyway. I don't know how many people would understand what it was like to be a mixed race, queer kid on the East Coast, undiagnosed with autism, that had to go to an all-boys early college, or that was forced to go to Christian youth groups. People don't get that. People don't understand moving to California at 15, being kicked out on the street by yourself at 15, and then ended up being homeless before 16. Or right after 16. People don't understand that. People don't understand literally the experience that their neighbor has on the same street when they've lived there together 15 years, because you don't know what happens behind closed doors. So I urge us all to understand that and still fight and try to connect, to build those bridges. Who knows? A bridge could be built across my ravine one day. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't still try to connect. That's what makes the magic of true connection and the effort worth it. But it's going to be unique to every single person. You might be an island. I might be in a ravine. Someone else might be up on a plateau, unable to reach the rest of people down here. But at the end of the day, we should still try with the grace for other people, knowing that we will never understand them, and that's okay.